Chapter 5 focuses on solving for the unknown, a how-to approach for solving an equation. So we're going to focus on different type of word problems and how to use equations to solve different types of word problems. You ready? Let's go. Terminology. There are certain terms you must understand in order to solve for a different type of word problems. Terms such as expression, equation, formula, variables, and constants. So an expression is a meaningful combination of numbers and letters that are called terms. For example, let's say that a person is traveling out of town. They're going to drive a total of 500 miles. And that person is driving at an average rate of 65 miles per hour. The question is, how long would it take that person to reach their destination? We would take that information and use numbers and letters to form what's called an expression. We can also use what's called a mathematical equation, which is a statement with an equal sign showing that the left-hand side of the equation must equal the right-hand side of the equation. We can also derive what's called a formula, which is the equation that expresses in symbols a general fact, rule, or principle, and we'll talk more about that. Then we have what's called variables and constants, which are terms of mathematical expressions. So in our example, if we're saying that a person is traveling 65 miles per hour and they plan on to travel a total of 500 miles, we're trying to figure out how long or how many hours would it take them to reach their destination, and we'll look at how to create an equation, an expression, a formula in order to solve that type of situation. Let's say in 8 years, Robert will turn 58. The question is, what is his current age? We begin with a simple one. Yes, you would say, well, Robert is currently 50. And that would be correct. But we want to use an equation to solve for the unknown. Okay? So we have on the left-hand side of the equation, we have a variable or a constant, which is A. And the question is, what does A represent? A represents Robert's current age. And we're trying to solve for his current age. We know that if we take his current age and add 8 years to it, it's going to equal 58. Therefore, the left-hand side is equal to the right-hand side. So I'm going to go to Excel for a minute, and let's take a look at how to solve for this type of a scenario. So our equation was, let me make this larger. There we go. We said that A plus 8 equals 58. So in math, we're going to do, we want to solve for A, and that's the wrong equation. Let's just say A plus 8 equals 58. There we go. And what we're trying to do here, we're trying to solve for the unknown. What's the unknown? The unknown is going to be the actual A, which is his current age. In order to do that, in order to solve this equation, we want to isolate the A, get it by itself. Meaning that we're going to subtract 8 from both sides. I'll make that bigger. In order to isolate the A and get the A by itself. So now if we subtract the 8 from both sides, what we have left is A, which is the current age, equals 58 minus 8, which is 50. So we just use a mathematical equation to determine his current age, which is going to be 50. So from a expression standpoint, when you're using the formulas, whatever is done to one side has to be done to the other. So if I subtract 8 from the left-hand side of the equation, I must also subtract 8 from the right-hand side of the equation. You want to try another one? Okay, let's look at something a little bit more complex than that one. The next one we have says 7g equals 35. Whatever g in this case is the unknown, and we're trying to solve for the constant g. So once again, I can erase this for a second, and we can put an equation that 7g equals 35. Whenever you have a number and a constant that are right next to each other, that means multiplication. You can rewrite that to say 7 times g equals 35. And now we're trying to solve for g. So once again, we're going to isolate g and to get the g by itself. Now, in order to do that, because in this situation, we're actually multiplying 7 times g, in order to get g by itself, I want to divide, I want to divide both sides by 7. And I'm trying to make this look neat for you. Put a 7 there, and let's just put, there we go. So basically, I want to divide both sides by 7. So my equation would be 7g divided by 7 equals 35 divided by 7. The reason why we do this is because when you take 7 divided by 7, that'll give you 1 or 1g. So now we have g by itself. And then if I take 35, divide that by 7, that'll give me 5. So using this equation, I'm able to solve for the g. 7g equals 35, g equals 5. Okay? You want to try another one? I'm sure you do. This time we have a multiple rule. And we have h divided by 4 plus 2 equals 5. H divided by 4 plus 2 equals 5. So in a situation like this, let me write it out, or I guess get rid of this. Delete that. So again, we have h divided by 4, and that was plus 2. And just start over. I have my tablet, it's not working properly, so I got to do it by hand. H divided by 4 plus 2 equals 5. Okay. So once again, the h is your constant, and the h is what we call the unknown. We want to solve for h. In order to solve for h, we have to get h by itself, meaning that once you're done, we'll have h by itself on the left-hand side of the equal sign. So first I want to get rid of this 2. How do I do that? By subtracting 2 from both sides. Not 5, subtracting 2 from both sides. When I subtract the 2 from both sides, it leaves me with h divided by 4 equals 3. Because the 2's plus 2 minus 2 is 0, and 5 minus 2 is 3. So now I have h divided by 4 equals 3. And again, I want to get the h by itself. Now, h is being divided by 4. To get h by itself, I want to multiply both sides times 4 in order to isolate the h. Remember, whatever is done on one side of the equation must be done on the other side of the equation. So my new equation is written as such. It is a 4h divided by 4 equals 3 times 4. What I'm doing again, I'm multiplying both sides of the equation times 4. And when I do that, 4h divided by 4 would just give me h, because the 4 divided by 4 just equal 1. And of course, 3 times 4 would give me 12. So by doing this particular formula, it tells me that h is actually equal to the number 12. So for pretty much any equation, you have to first determine what the equation should look like, and once that's determined, create your expression, and then you can solve for any unknown variable. Maybe we have time for one more. Okay. This time we have parentheses, and it says 5p minus 4 equals 20. Again, 5p minus 4 equals 20. So I'm going to put that on the other side. We got 5. Delete that. Parentheses, p minus 4 parentheses equals 20. Okay? So once again, your goal is always to isolate the constant, meaning I want to get the p by itself. This 5 on the outside means that we're multiplying 5 times p minus 4 parentheses to get to 20. So what I want to do is get rid of the 5. So to do that, because it's multiplication, I want to divide by 5. So now I'm going to take 5 p minus 4 equals 20. And I'm going to divide both sides by 5. And I'm going to divide this by 5 as well. I'm doing that because, again, these two 5s, that's a 5 up top, 5 at the bottom, they're going to cancel each other out. And that would just leave me with p minus 4 equals 20 divided by 5, which is 4. Okay? And now I want to get p by itself, so I'm going to add plus 4 to both sides of the equation. And when I do that, the two 4s cancel out, and now I have p equals 8. Now, one thing we haven't done, but what I recommend that you always check to make sure that your answer is correct. So if I put 8 in for p, it should solve this equation. Want to try that? Let's do it. So if I put 5, now make it bigger, 8 minus 4 equals 20, the question is this expression correct? What do you think? Let's see. So I take 5, 8 minus 4 would give me 4, and that will equal 20. Okay. Let's make it the same size. There we go. And then, of course, we know that if you multiply 5 times 4, it does equal 20. Therefore, our equation is correct. So in Chapter 5, read the different expressions, determine the correct formula in order to solve the expression. And once you put in the formula, you want to solve for the unknown variable. I'll come back with a second video for Chapter 5, working on some more of these problems.